Before you even consider diving into the latest rumors, let me clarify. I don't possess a crystal ball, nor do I have a modern-day Nostradamus whispering secrets about unreleased devices in my ear. Despite the buzz surrounding an early launch, Samsung has yet to unveil any substantial information about the Galaxy S26 series. However, that hasn't stopped industry experts and social media insiders from crafting an intriguing narrative around the highly anticipated S26 Ultra. They're piecing together insights from insider information and educated speculation, and that's where I come in. I am here to help you navigate the excitement and dissect Samsung's potential improvements, so you can stay ahead of the curve. Let's explore what the future might hold for the Galaxy S26 Ultra together. Why so many compromises? Let's not mince words. If the Galaxy S26 Ultra ends up preserving the 5000 mAh battery capacity of this year's S25 Ultra, Samsung will have some explaining to do. Apart from inexplicably leaving a major component of its Android super flagship unchanged for 7 consecutive generations, the world's top handset vendor would trail behind the latest significant upgrades in that field by key rivals like OnePlus, Xiaomi, Honor, Oppo, Vivo, and even Motorola. It's going to be mighty hard for a regular consumer and casual mobile industry watcher to understand how something like the OnePlus 13T can pair a gargantuan 6,260 mAh battery with a compact 6.32-inch screen, while the 6.9-inch or so S26 Ultra has to settle for 5,000 or at most 5,400 mAh cell capacity. Yes, there's supposedly a potential of a little rise from 5,000 mAh to under 5,400 mAh, which would obviously be better than nothing. But a sub 5,500 mAh battery would still be regarded a letdown and a compromise compared to what the OnePlus 14 will bring to the table, following the already outstanding 6,000 mAh packed in the OnePlus 13. The disappointment would be made much greater if the Galaxy S26 Ultra loses the S Pen slot and fails to get its charging capabilities beyond the 50-watt level. Fortunately, all of these are still large if, but there's seldom this much smoke without fire in the rumor mill, even with 7 or 8 months ahead of a phone's commercial debut. The stylus support deletion conjecture makes me extra unhappy, since that the battery size is projected to be mostly intact. And yes, I understand the S Pen is not that commonly utilized by the great majority of the S25 Ultra or the S24 Ultra users, but that doesn't alter the fact this is a pleasant tool to have at your disposal, as well as kind of a luxury statement for the finest Android phones out there. To lose that and only gain maybe 400 mAh battery capacity, as well as maybe 20 grams in weight and half a millimeter in thickness, would be astonishingly ill-advised. If we didn't all recall Samsung's great Galaxy Note killing era from only a few years ago. Yes, there's great news to be discovered in the rumor mill of late surrounding a Galaxy S26 Ultra that's otherwise beginning to sound like a fairly gloomy improvement over the decent but generally unremarkable Galaxy S25 Ultra. No, I'm not talking about the prospective lessening of Samsung's dependency on Google, which likewise sounds like a bad move to me, that I don't believe will finally happen, at least not in 2026. Instead, what's undoubtedly fascinating about the S26 Ultra is that it might be the sole member of its family to employ a Qualcomm Snapdragon chip. Whether that will be true throughout the globe or not, a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 SoC 2 would offer the 2026 Android hero a chance to keep up with the certainly astonishing sheer power of Apple's fast-approaching iPhone 17 Pro Max. Of course, I'd much prefer see the whole Galaxy S26 series follow a worldwide single-chip Snapdragon policy instead of dividing the globe in Snapdragon and Exynos areas, or even worse, depend on Samsung-made Exynos hardware everywhere for non-Ultra versions. But hey, we can't have it all. Let's celebrate the tiny victories in that scenario, like Samsung's alleged choice to leave the S26 series without under-display camera technology. There's definitely nothing wrong with keeping a phone's selfie snapper as unobtrusive as possible, but at the present, that seems like a waste of valuable resources that takes time and money to get exactly right while severely compromising the performance of the actual picture sensor. Let's only hope Samsung will find a better use of its resources than merely making the S26 Ultra as tiny as it can. Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra wishlist. All the features I'd want to see. Samsung loves to make a statement at the start of each new year. Its Galaxy S series flagships are among the first off the presses, offering us a taste of new AI capabilities, fresh Snapdragon or Exynos chipsets, and some of the newest, strongest materials that Corning's Gorilla Glass team has devised. And at the top of the pile lies the Galaxy S Ultra. By now, Samsung's top dog is a known fact. The Ultra is going to be enormous, it's going to be powerful, and it's going to come with a built-in S Pen from the days of the Galaxy Note series. However, there's always a little space to hope about what more Samsung may do to fill out those features. So let's look at just a few things I'm hoping Samsung fixes with its Galaxy S26 Ultra. There are no official rumors or leaks behind any of them. I'm just a person who would want to see one of the finest Android phones grow even better. So let's jump to it. When I evaluated Samsung's recent Galaxy S25 Ultra, I walked away with mixed views. Not on the performance front, the device was a beast owing to its Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy CPU, but on the design front. Simply stated, I couldn't find a comfortable way to handle and operate such a massive device, and making it seem and feel more like the smaller Galaxy S25 and S25 Plus wasn't working. Yes, it's wonderful that Samsung abandoned the formerly sharp edges at the top and bottom of its Ultra. It understood that it didn't need a completely flat edge for the S Pen to fit into, but I don't like the new design. Rather than stay with the rounded edges that I've grown to appreciate on the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the S24 Ultra, Samsung shifted to a flat, iPhone-like frame, and it felt like it dug into my hands the whole time I evaluated the phone. So with the Galaxy S26 Ultra, let's make curvy cool again. Samsung's rounder frames are so much more pleasant to grip than its crisp, flat ones, to the point that I'd gladly go back to something like the Galaxy S23 again, just because I love carrying it about. Switching to a rounder frame would make the Galaxy S26 Ultra a little more unique too, given that rivals like Google and Nothing have embraced flat frames. Sticking with my call for individuality, I'd want to see Samsung spice up its camera bump to match its newfound, possible, curves. We largely made this statement on the Galaxy S25 and the Galaxy S25 Plus, but there's practically nothing to get excited about when each of Samsung's cameras sits in its own circular cutout. Combined with the flat edges and plain colors, it almost makes the trio appear like generic phones that Apple would use for comparison's sake, minus the unsightly notch in their screens. You know when Samsung didn't have this issue though? When the Galaxy S21 and S22 series launched with its contour-cut camera hump. They weren't particularly sophisticated. You wouldn't mistake them for anything like the huge disc on a OnePlus 13 or the camera bar on a Google Pixel, but they broke up the otherwise plain appearance and offered a little protection between each lens. Please Samsung, bring back some personality. Now it's time for Samsung to bring them back. I mean, it already offered the Galaxy S25 Edge, which I can't believe I've now addressed twice. A bigger camera bump, allowing it jut out practically the thickness of the phone itself, and I appreciate the tiny dose of personality that it offers. And certainly, Samsung did it because it couldn't reasonably put the hardware into the body itself, but I still enjoy that it breaks up the otherwise plain design. While much of my wish list has been things I may aspire for with the upcoming Galaxy S26 Ultra, this following item could be the most important. Samsung has to make the S Pen excellent again. If it's going to preserve the stylus that won over so many productivity enthusiasts on the Galaxy Note series, it can't pare its functionality down to nothing more than the pen on Motorola's far more cheap Moto G stylus, which is essentially what Samsung did with the Galaxy S25 Ultra. More precisely, the Galaxy S24 Ultra's S Pen utilized a Bluetooth LE connection to remain linked with your phone, and it included ingenious features like Air Actions, which you could conduct a few inches away from your screen, and it also served as a remote camera shutter for taking group selfies. Now, both of those comforts are in the past. Instead, the S Pen is, well, simply a pen, and a very costly one at that. Right now, the S Pen is just sort of a pen. To make me happy with the Galaxy S26 Ultra, all Samsung needs to do is reverse what seems like a pretty dumb choice in the first place. It only needs to bring back the old S Pen and give it the functionality people adore. Maybe Microsoft cut off part of the capability from its pen since not enough people were using it, but at that rate, it nearly makes more sense to delete the stylus entirely. Next, One UI 8.0 changed frosted UI into dynamic glass effect with simply an outline. Apple has announced iOS 26 as the largest design makeover in a decade, with a liquid glass UI. But early testers have noticed that the new enhancements have rendered several portions of the UI largely invisible. Meanwhile, Samsung has offered a novel UI modification in One UI 8.0 with a glass look that you may not have noticed. Last year, Samsung updated its mobile software interface with One UI 7.0 and incorporated some of the significant revisions across the operating system. The program merged this new UI with intuitive animations, which makes the interactions better than the previous generation. A key impact of this new design can be observed on the control panel, which now acts as a distinct component. Its base layer has a semi-transparent backdrop, tiles providing a frosted finish. This is a mix that balances the UI element visibility. Despite having two different layers, the control panel's backdrop and the tiles in One UI 7.0 lose the impression of visibility when they overlap in specific bright and dark spot conditions generated by the underlying wallpaper. So that's all we know for now. We'll be sure to keep you updated as soon as we have more information. Thanks for watching.